Lauren, and welcome to TV 1061. Join our network and broadcast your film live across the continent. Come to our studio and film and stream your TV show, sitcom, and showcase and broadcast it worldwide. Combine multimedia with your live stream. Independent filmmakers show your movie and afterwards interview your cast live. Sponsors, advertisers, I'm talking to you. This is your chance for global exposure. These are exciting times that we're in. Traditional TV is but a thing of the past. TV 1061 is on the Roku platform. Roku is an industry leader in internet TV. It has a viewership of 53 million and counting. It is the most popular and fastest growing internet TV platform. If you are interested in developing and showcasing your movie or show, or interested in coming in as a sponsor or advertiser, please send us your contact information with a brief description of your interest to 1061tv@gmail.com. Thank you. Hi, my name is Lauren, and welcome to TV 1061. Join our network and broadcast your film live across the continent. Come to our studio and film and stream your TV show, sitcom, and showcase and broadcast it worldwide. Combine multimedia with your live stream. Independent filmmakers show your movie and afterwards interview your cast live. Sponsors, advertisers, I'm talking to you. This is your chance for global exposure. These are exciting times that we're in. Traditional TV is but a thing of the past. TV 1061 is on the Roku platform. Roku is an industry leader in internet TV. It has a viewership of 53 million and counting. It is the most popular and fastest growing internet TV platform. If you are interested in developing and showcasing your movie or show, or interested in coming in as a sponsor or advertiser, please send us your contact information with a brief description of your interest to 1061tv@gmail.com. Thank you.
Today's world exposes our youth to life experiences that are well beyond that which their years should allow. Violence, trauma, poverty, injustice. Our children's lives and their livelihoods are in constant danger. Wisdom Inc. is a community-based organization designed to save Wisdom stands for wise individuals structuring and developing youthful minds. Through our collective wisdom, we can change lives for the better. Wisdom Inc. Reducing violence, developing youth, saving lives. Today's world.
Hi, I'm Michael Kyle, your funniest man on the planet, and you're watching TV 1061, your global network. Stay tuned, because that's how they do it over here. Big time party. All right, see y'all later. Bye. Hi.
You are tuned in to Talk Show Kings on TV 1061.
Man, what they gonna do with this black on black crime, man? I'm sick of this. Thank you for watching another edition of Talk Show Kings on TV 1061. We'll be seeing you soon.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in to the TV 1061 Talk Show Kings. My name is King Jason, and to my left,
I'm King Darwin, and to my left,
I'm King Eric.
And all together, we are
the Talk Show Kings.
All right, well, today is an awesome, beautiful spring Sunday afternoon. And got my Kings with us today. Today we got some good topics to talk about. So we're going to start off with our hot topics, and one of them is very interesting. It's been pretty popular on social media, a little bit on the news media as well. And a lot of you may have already know about it, but it's about Pastor Marvin Sapp. So there's been a very big event about him at a previous convention where he started to tell the deacons and the ushers to close the doors and pretty much lock everyone who was in the congregation until they were able to raise $40,000. So we're going to start there, and I want to hear some of the opinions from my kings. So let's start off with King D.
Okay, well, like I said, I grew up in the church, so I've seen that quite often. I mean, it's not something that I feel is out of the blue. You know, some pastors do it when they get behind on bills or what have you. So, but to lock the doors, I feel was a little extreme. Locking the doors, locking people in, I don't think that's appropriate. But at the same token, I know how it can be at some congregations where they can get behind on bills or they might need to do some things to, take care of their, the church or what have you. But to locking folks in and making it kind of like a mandatory thing that everybody put in a certain amount of money. I seen pastors just say, hey, we need to put some more into the pot, but to specifically tell them how much to put in the pot, I think it was a little overboard.
What you got, King
I
Eric?
mean, it's not even the fact of how much to put in the pot, because if you're trying to raise $40,000, then that's fine. You want to raise $40,000, but I think a lot of people wanted to know, what was that $40,000 for?
That's right. Yeah,
that's a very great point. I mean, if you are asking for money, the average person is going to want to know what's your plans, what's your intentions, and what's your reasonings. And if you're just saying, hey, we're going to raise $40,000, there's 1,000 of you watching TV, there's 1,000 of you in the congregation, we're going to be able to raise this money, but why? What's it for?
Yeah, it's that part. I mean, especially if you go into the extreme of close those doors. Close those doors. Sounding like Joe Clark. Close the doors and all this other stuff. But I mean, come on. He didn't even give a reason for it. I mean, hey, I don't know what he was thinking about at that time, but hey, I know for me, what are we, especially if you're at a convention, what are we raising this additional $40,000 for?
That's a great point.
That's a very great point.
I mean, there's a lot of pastors out there that say we want to raise money for this, and I know King D spoke on this earlier, the building fund, the roof fund.
Great point.
Things like that. I mean, but you're at a convention, are you doing it just because, now, don't get me wrong now, I do know that sometimes guest pastors, they get whatever's made out that tray. So are you trying to fatten your pockets up if you at a convention?
Yeah.
I mean, or what you trying to do with the money? Or is it just something to go towards, even if he'd said this is to help fund the next convention?
Correct.
That would be sufficient. But just to say lock the doors or close the doors and just we need $40,000?
So, King Eric, have you ever experienced something like that before?
Something similar to that.
And when go ahead.
I'm just saying, I'm thinking everybody that ever went to church, kind of experienced something similar.
But it wasn't no close the doors. I had a pastor tell. We went and visited a church one time in Alabama. We had he sent the tray around, and then he said after they got finished collecting the plates, he looked in there. He said, "No, that ain't enough. We gonna send that back around again." So,
and what you were saying too, King Eric, you made a good point, and it made me think because it was at a convention, King Jason, and could you think that the actual pastor of that church could have been collaborating with him to do that, to raise those type of funds so that they, could split that pot?
Split. I mean, yeah. Go ahead.
I don't know Marvin Sapp. I don't know his intentions. I'm just going to say maybe there was something detrimental to that church that he wanted to raise the funds for.
Yeah.
Maybe it was. Because if you think about it, a lot of people are not showing up in church nowadays like they used to. So they're not getting the tithes and everything like they used to get.
True.
So it could have been one of those instances. So, but I don't know. But did the whole thing is, was it that extreme to lock the doors?
I wouldn't even agree anyway for someone to say lock them in just to collect some money. I mean, that tells me, in my opinion, that's where you have wrong intentions. If you're afraid your people are going to run out and not pay offering.
To me, that sounds like robbery.
It does.
A stick up.
A stick up. I mean,
But I
you
hope
locking the
not.
doors,
You know,
I mean-
I really hope not. You know,
But,
So-
but seriously though, I mean, no, I don't think it. I don't. Like I said, I don't know Marvin Sapp. I don't know what the intentions were that day when he said it. Maybe the pastor discussed something with him that he didn't want the congregation to know, and he just needed to raise $40,000. I don't know.
Yeah.
But again, there are plenty of instances out here where people are doing it every day, but they're just not doing it in that instance. A lot of pastors they're not being transparent with their congregation and letting them know, hey, this is what's going on in our church, and we need the help. And maybe because they feel like they're struggling.
Yeah.
Who knows?
King D.
Yeah, I mean, like I said before, it happens, but to that extreme, I think it was a little, kind of overboard, but at the same token, you never know, like you said, what the funds were for or what they were doing to try to raise those funds, to get those funds. So, it's...
And to close off this hot topic, in my opinion, I tell people this, believers or unbelievers, just be careful what church you visit, what church you're a part of, because, there are some churches that has false ministries, and some churches may have a pastor who are preaching for the wrong intentions, but that's all for something for God to worry about. But anyways, we're done with that topic. Our next hot topic that's been kind of flowing around lately is about Deion Sanders. His new contract is
$54
million with Colorado. So I want to hear you guys' thoughts. What are your thoughts about that?
I'm happy for him. I think he deserved more for the things that he's done. I mean, he didn't get, when he was at the HBCU, he didn't get that type of money. He deserved it then. I believe he deserves it now. I know a lot of people think that he's just I've heard a lot of coaches that's in his own conference say that he's just a social media coach. And for me, the things that Deion Sanders instills into his player athletes, those players, as far as, student athletes, put it that way. Mm-hmm. And he makes sure that they go to class. Nobody talks about, they talk about him being social media, but they don't talk about how all the students averaged a 3.3 or 3.4 GPA that was on his football team.
And I can agree, because that's one thing that's different about Coach Sanders. He's not the average coach. He's going to make sure each of his players are focusing on their academics, because if they're not, he surely will put them to the side.
Exactly.
King D, what's your thoughts?
My thoughts on that is definitely I feel he deserves it, and just like King Eric, it's high time that black coaches and players get their piece of the pie. We work hard out here.
You're right about that.
And Deion, he's proved himself time and time again that he can be definitely a college championship coach.
Yeah.
He's a good coach. I always felt he was a good coach, and he got morals and he got values. He teaches his kids to, have respect. And if you don't do this, you're not playing. He didn't sat his own son down because he came to the meeting late. He don't play them games.
Right.
And if you don't live by those rules and play by those rules, then he's gonna discipline you one way or another. And he don't care who you are.
And if I'm correct, from when he was coaching at the HBCU school and left it, he never really changed. His same demeanor, same intentions, same leadership to teaching and mentoring these kids. So what are your thoughts? You think he has changed, or is still the same to where where he is now in this position?
No, I think it's still the same, and that's what brought him. That's what and who is, I want to say, the general manager of the the athletics department, that's what he liked about Deion. And he brought that same mentality. And when he walked in, he said he was bringing his Louis bag. He said he was bringing everything with him. So, and included in that bag was, you will be a student first, athlete second.
I agree.
So
I agree.
None of that changed.
And you got a lot, just think what he brought to Colorado too. Not only with him coaching and bringing a lot of respect and morals and values to the kids, but what he's bringing to the school in the state of Colorado. Because now you got so many people just coming to the game for Deion. They have been, selling out seats. You got professional athletes coming, staying at hotels. Just think of the money, the revenue that they're actually bringing in the state of Colorado with Deion even being there.
Yeah.
So that's just a little piece of the pie that they really giving him for what he's doing and what he's bringing to the state.
That's you have a great point there. And then also I was sitting here thinking when you're saying how it attracts new students to come to that school and also to sell out on tickets for the games. For what he's been offered with this school, do you think he deserves more, or is it a decent amount? I mean, I know we was talking earlier about other college football coach, especially like the coach at UGA and former Michigan State, I believe, which is
Coach Jim Harbaugh.
Yep, Jim Harbaugh, who was also a retired NFL player. We was wondering how much was he making. I mean, how he was attracting people to come.
I mean, most of the time, a lot of people are not Nick Saban. Let's just start there. Nick Saban, I would always think he just sit inside, go visit the kids, sit in their living room, show them all the rings, and be like, okay, this is what we do here. Even though I can't stand Alabama, but that's a different story.
That is a different story.
So Deion has a lot of markability, and not just with Colorado itself, but of course I'm pretty sure he still has that deal with Nike. So Deion is just from what I see, he's a down-to-earth good person and a great head coach. And I believe he deserved more than what he got. I believe he deserved more. I believe that he's going to have a better year this year than he had that last year. Last year, he almost made it to the playoffs. I believe this year he'll make it to the playoffs.
Okay.
And
I wouldn't even doubt it.
The thing that gets me is some of these coaches, when they play against Deion, they actually trying to beat Deion instead of trying to beat the team.
Sure. That's a great point. And then we was also talking before we end off this hot topic. We were talking how different coaches from different levels of football, high school, little league, and college. What is it that causes a team to be winners? Is it the coach? Is it the plays? Is it the players? And now you mentioned how other teams they're not trying to compete against the team; they're competing against Deion. So. Go ahead.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, being a football player myself, growing up, playing from Pee Wee to high school, throughout, and just knowing the game, any coach I'll say a football player transferring over to a coach has to know that the number one thing when you're coaching is to be able to know how to motivate your players.
Great point.
And being able to how to make them work together. If your team is not gelling, and as a coach and as a former football player, that you got to how to motivate those players, and how to make them gel together and respect each other and know that, guess what, we're a team. It's not just about you. It's not just about him. It's about us.
Yeah.
There is no I in team. So, I'm pretty sure that he teaches that as well because he's a former football player and he know how to win. He done won championships. So he know what it takes to win championships. And I think that's what more or less he's instilling in those kids too, is how to motivate those kids and how to get those kids to actually respect the game, respect the, not only, respecting the game, but respecting the principles and that go along with just being a great, teammate.
Exactly true. Exactly right. So I appreciate you guys on sharing your thoughts on today's hot topics. So let's go in and go to the main course of the meal today. So we wanted to talk about, memory kind of just went blank. So we wanted to discuss about.
Well, which one do you want to go with first?
I guess we can do the slavery and how it impacts today's society.
So mentioning about that, I've been having some discussion with some colleagues about how I know we mentioned about a lot about the Trump administration. How he has changed a lot to where he signed a bill where federal agencies and federal programs were pretty much cut off. I think it's the segregation bill where it's voided. So what are your thoughts on that?
For me, I think that that's just another way of going back, taking this country back again, further back to segregation days. And I was looking at something that Minister Farrakhan has said.
Okay.
He was talking to a panel of other blacks. I mean, you had Tavis Smiley, some other people there as well. And he was saying that back in the 60s and the 70s, everybody, all the black people were up in arms about jobs and being equal.
Mm-hmm.
And when Obama became president, we were still singing the same song. We need to have more jobs for us and be equal. Well, I mean, if you look at it right now, we still saying the same thing. Jobs and being equal. But do you think that we're going to all be treated equally?
What are your thoughts?
In this system, no, we'll never be treated equal until we fight for equality.
I mean,
that's my outlook on that. And I think what you were saying too, far as the segregation bill, which voided out, I think it, like you say, it's country clubs now that don't accept blacks in it right now. Absolutely.
And these are
absolutely
you're talking
right
like
now.
golf.
These are private country clubs that they can turn you away at the door. We don't accept blacks in here. This is something that never went away. This is something that always existed. It's just that now what he did was voided it from federal funding. That's what he voided it from. So now that if you are a private institution, you can get funding from the federal government for being a private institution that pushes segregation.
Correct.
That's what that's for. That's what that's about. But at the same time, will we ever be equal? Not in this system until we fight for it. And
I mean,
that's the thing.
Just like the closest to equality we had was that DEI initiative. And what did he do to that?
Yeah.
That was the closest we had to equality.
Yeah.
And he took
like
that away because he knew that slavery affected a lot of things.
It did.
Some people still feel like they're slaves. Some people still act like they're slaves in their mind. They still slaves.
Some people are enslaved in their mind.
And I agree with both of you, Kings, because I had my late uncle. I love that guy. He was very wise, very and what he talked about, the stuff he experienced. And one thing he told me, well, not told me, I actually noticed it because he owned his own lawn service. And most of his clients were Caucasians. And whenever he talks with them, he'll say, yes, sir. Oh, yes, ma'am. Real quick. And then I had a discussion with them. And I noticed, I said, you have the same the same reactions as if it's still segregation time. And my point is like, I think it really depends on a generation of someone's upbringing. What do you think about that?
Well, I'm not even going to say that. Because you have some people right now that's younger than me, and they do the same thing. Yes sir, no sir, yes some, no some. Like we still back in the 60s and stuff like that. Like they done been enslaved or something. look, I'm all about giving respect.
Mhm.
I'm gonna say yes, sir, or yes, ma'am, or something like that. But I'm saying it. I'm not saying it like I'm just, oh, thank you for that. I appreciate that. No.
So do you guys think it's the way our parents raise us to how we respond to an everyday thing or interaction?
I would say some of it could stem from parenting, but some of it may be just because of how you grew up in this society, because of all the racism and all the prejudice that we face each and every day. And it's not just with the white folks, though. Let me say this. It is not just with these white folks that the prejudices and the injustices happen. I have dealt with businesses and companies down here that has just appalled me. Black businesses.
Black businesses.
You understand
Yeah.
me? Black businesses.
Yeah.
So I'm not just pointing the finger at these white people and saying that, you know, how they, you know, treat us unjust, but it's these black folks that just appalls me. How they handle their business and treat us and think that they're, like you say, the oppressor as well as the oppressor.
Yeah.
You know, with keeping their foot on these folks' necks down here. It just appalls me that because before when I moved down here, I thought this was the black Mecca. This is where, you know, hey, we can really have something down here, and we could have something down here if you didn't have the gatekeepers. But it's more gatekeepers down here than it is up top, and I'm putting that on everything. And until, you know, the mindset down here changes, it's gonna stay down. It's gonna stay screwed up down here. You know, it's gonna stay poverty. It's gonna stay like it is because you got folks that's in charge. That's literally gatekeepers. Literally.
You know, I've always believed and thought, you know, as I have grown up over the years, that a lot of our young, not just even young blacks, but even all blacks, or a lot of blacks don't really interact that much with our elected officials, to where we fight for what we want, what we're looking to have, compared to our other counterparts, you know. So we're used to just not even worrying about it. What were you going to say,
Well,
King Eric?
A lot of folks don't even know who their elected officials are in the community.
And that's the problem.
Does that elected official come by and say, hey, thank you for your vote? No, but I guarantee they be out there wanting your vote, campaigning for that vote.
Yeah.
Now, time. I mean, even when you go to these city hall meetings that they have, I mean, are they really saying anything that's, when you address a problem to them, are they really saying anything that's correcting the problem?
Well, I think your question has been answered if you have noticed over the past few weeks, since a lot of elected officials have been offering town hall meetings, how they've been responding to the voters. You know, one gentleman who, I think he was a chairman of one of the state senates, and people had like 3 minutes of talk time. And he got so upset from the voters saying what they were stating, he cut their mics off and told them to leave. You know, your time is up. I don't care. Whatever. So what these elected officials forgot, you didn't put yourself in office. We did. So
Yeah, because actually, but the people have to take the stand, you know, because they're going to do what we allow them to do. These elected officials, you know, we put them in the place of power, and like we were saying before on other shows, you know, they get into that position and they do what the last person does, because there's nobody really running up behind them checking, you know, no checks and balances. So it's a lot of filtering funds, you know, that they're doing illegally. It's a lot of stuff probably that's going on, you know, but at the same time, you know, I just see it's just a lot of us down here oppressing us down here, you know, because, and it shouldn't be like that. I mean, everybody, it's enough money, it's enough everything for, you know, for everybody should be able to get a fair share down here.
You know, and I'm glad that we're discussing about this because, you know, I was born and raised here in Georgia, And Georgia is one of the top segregated states in the U.S. I mean, you have Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, South and North Carolina, and Tennessee. Those are your primary southern states. I know you have also Virginia, that's all considered as the South, and how over the decades and generations, you have not really noticed any difference of how they treat blacks.
And that's
Treat
what
us,
I wanted
you
to
know,
ask
treat us
you.
the same.
And that's how I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
because you're from here and you from, well, close to here, right?
I was born in Alabama, and
Right.
raised here, so
Right.
I forgot about Alabama, Lord Jesus.
But I mean, that's kind
Say it,
of
Alabama.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But so, I mean, am I wrong, or how do you see it as being, you know, born and raised here, as far as growing up in this city?
Well, to me, it's multiple things. I think it's your upbringing of who raised you and how you were raised, and then too, I think it's just something in our DNA. You know, because Georgia, once again, was also a slavery state, and we mainly talk about slavery and how it affected us, and it still does. I think it's in our DNA, and until we end up breaking that generational curse, you know, it's going to stick like that. It's going to be something natural. It's going to be something we're used to.
Yeah, and I think that's something that definitely needs to be discussed on a higher level.
Yeah.
Because, like you say, when they get on the top, they act just like the oppressor acts.
Correct.
You know, instead of filtering down the wealth and making sure that everybody is eating and getting a fair share of the pie, it just seems like it's a lot of segregation amongst ourselves.
It is.
And that's the sad part. You know, like you say, even when I was talking about far as with in the community down here and trying to get started, you know, I kind of like pull back because of the people down. I mean, how do some of the people act down here, you know, far as when it comes to their kids and when it comes to business and doing certain things, you know. I don't know, man. It's just it's kind of a you know, the teeter-totter walk down here. You gotta, you know, we gotta be careful. Hey, you might, if you do this, you do this. You
Yeah.
can do that this way. You gotta be careful. Don't do it that way. You gotta do it this way. And it's just like it's funny, like, to me, you know, as far as with, you know, doing business. And
You know what's interesting? I thought about this past few weeks about segregation. To me, having political parties is another type of segregation because you got to pick sides. You shouldn't have to do that.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think segregation, let's just look at it for a second, is it a good thing or a bad thing?
Depends how you view it.
Right, because I mean, if you look at it back when there was segregation then, black people did stick together.
We did.
it all depends to me on, as far as with segregation is, let's draw the line. How about that? People that feel this way, y'all work over there. People that feel this way, let's work over here. You know, how about that? That sounds more like common sense to me, because if these people feel this type of way or certain type of way about working with each other, or, you know, colonialism, or whether it's grassroots over here, and, you know, it's just like, okay, y'all work over there, hey, and we'll work over here and try to build our nation just like you guys trying to build y'all's nation. Instead of when you working together and you have an integration and you have two people that's really bucking heads because they got two ideologies, it's not getting us anywhere. It's not getting us any closer to our independence. It's not getting us any closer to our freedom.
That's true, but
Yeah.
that's just like in anything that we do, is any type of work. I mean, you're allowed to butt heads, but you got to have, sometimes you have to compromise.
So, you know, we're going to hold on this thought. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and to a quick commercial break, and then we will return back and finish off this conversation.
Hi, I'm Harry Lennox, and you're watching TV 1061, your global network.
Hi, this is James Ingham, and you're watching TV 1061, your global network.
Michael, Kyle, you're funniest man on the planet, and you're watching TV 1061, your global network. Stay tuned, because that's how they do it over here. Big time party! All right, see y'all later.
To life experiences that are well beyond that which their years should allow. Violence, trauma, poverty, injustice. Our children's lives and their livelihoods are in constant danger. Wisdom Inc. is a community-based organization designed to save young lives by reducing violence and assisting youth in their personal development. Wisdom stands for wise individuals structuring and developing youthful minds. Through our collective wisdom, we can change lives for the better. Wisdom Inc. Reducing violence, developing youth, saving lives. Today's world.
My name is Lauren, and welcome to TV 1061. Join our network and broadcast your film live across the continent. Come to our studio and film and stream your TV show, sitcom, and showcase and broadcast it worldwide. Combine multimedia with your live stream. Independent filmmakers show your movie and afterwards interview your cast live. Sponsors, advertisers, I'm talking to you. This is your chance for global exposure. These are exciting times that we're in. Traditional TV is but a thing of the past. TV 1061 is on the Roku platform. Roku is an industry leader in internet TV. It has a viewership of 53 million and counting. It is the most popular and fastest growing internet TV platform. If you are interested in developing and showcasing your movie or show, or interested in coming in as a sponsor or advertiser, please send us your contact information with a brief description of your interest to 1061tv@gmail.com. Thank you. Hi.
You are tuned in to Talk Show Kings on TV 1061.
Man, what they gonna do with this black on black crime, man? I'm sick of this. Thank you for watching another edition of Talk Show Kings on TV 1061. We'll be seeing you soon.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Talk Show Kings. I'm King Jason, and I want to thank the city of Douglasville and our owner of Felix Washington for this awesome show that we're having. So let's go ahead and before we get back to the conversation, we were last discussing about segregation in our country, and not just in our country, but also in our black communities as well. We kind of going to go a little bit deeper this time on the conversation. So we had last talked about what is it? How does it affect us individually? How does it affect our family? And how does it affect us as a whole? So let's go back. King D, from your last statement, kind of go ahead and refresh what you last stated about segregation.
Well, like we were just saying, just like you say, we're segregated amongst ourselves. Like, it's not the white and black anymore. You know, we have become segregated amongst our own. And sadly to say, you know, and it comes from the colonization, you know, the Willie Lynch syndrome or whatever, you know, the Jim Crow era, or whatever you want to call it. But at the same time, you know, you have people that's in high places and they still are facilitating, you know, these laws and implementing these, mindsets and creating the atmosphere which we living in today, you know, as far as in our neighborhoods and what's going on and how it's segregated. It's not a together thing, because one thing is it's a mindset to me. You know, I think everything starts in the mind. Okay, so if you have people with certain ideologies and how they think and how they feel about certain things, and you have another type of people that feel a certain way about and think about certain things, then we're going to always buck heads.
Sure.
Until we can find a common medium, somewhere where we can meet in the middle and work together collectively, then that's the only way that we're ever going to excel and you know, come out of this rut that we're in.
Do you think it could be part of our genes as a human being, period?
Part of our what?
Just being a human being, period, by our genes, our
No, I think more of it's been instilled in us, you know, through, you know, our school systems, our, you know, our work fields, all of it. You know, you go to school, you don't see nothing empowering our kids. You see it empowering the European kids. You know, we don't see us in the textbooks. You don't hear these public schools talking about what we've done throughout history. You know, we don't see that unless you're going to.
Except during Black History Month.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it.
So that's the biggest issue, because the kids is where it all starts. If you don't catch that child at an early age and instill these values and morals and principles in our youth while they still receptive, because you can't start trying to teach a child at 16, 17, 18. Their mind is already set.
Yeah.
Their mind is already made up who they are and what they believe in. And if we don't catch our youth at a younger age and instill and empower our kids, then we're losing. We're losing the whole game, bottom line. And that is where we need to start in our educational system. You cannot expect us to stick together if our schools is not promoting sticking together.
Go ahead, bro.
Well,
King Eric.
As you can see with this new administration, they're trying to get rid of Board of Education, Department of Education. So that's actually is going to be left up to the parents and
left up to the state.
It's to the
state,
I'm talking about
because
as far
it's a good
as
thing. That's a good thing. Taking
to the state and the parents.
Yeah, it's a good thing.
Well, I'm
taking
talking
the
about
government
as far as teaching
out of the school
the
system.
Black history.
Yeah, because now it's up to the state for what studies and lessons that they teach in the schools now. The federal government don't have their hand in it, because that's who the ones that separated, you know, religion from school, you know, from church from state. You see what I'm saying? So now, you know, that's why now they can't even, you know, pray in school because of the federal government, you know. But now we can try to implement more things like that and try to, you know, instill our kids at a younger age about more of a spiritual way of life instead of this material way of life. So it's not a bad thing that they, you know, that the federal government stepped back out of the school systems, because now it's up to the state on how they're going to run their schools, and the federal government don't have anything to do with it. So we can't blame it on the federal government no more.
That's not the part I'm talking about.
Well, that's the part that...
That's not the part I'm talking about. I'm talking about the part where not only are they dismantling that part, but they're also taking certain things out of the schools that they can't teach in schools.
And that's what I was, I was getting ready to mention
that's
too.
That's the state. That's the state. If that's the state, the federal government can't do anything no more. Their hands.
But that's what the state is doing.
Well, that's the state. Now our gripe is against the state. It's not against the federal government. You see what I'm saying? Because like you said, that's why, like I say, it starts from the top. And guess what it do? It rolls down.
And that's what I was going to say too, brother King D, is that if I'm correct, when the first Trump administration, the first conflict that I can remember was critical race theory. And that's when that came about, schools of all grade levels, including college, started taking away anything dealing with African history. They wanted to take it out of schools, and we were just mentioning about how we should teach our kids about our history, and you don't even see it. And that's why. It's because whatever happens at top, this is my opinion, or whatever happens at top, whoever says something, it's going to trickle down to the bottom, and they're going to always say, okay, well, he don't want it no more, let's take it out. We can't argue, we can't fight again. We had no choice. But actually we do.
Yes.
And that's why if you're getting rid of the Department of Education, you want to put it in the state's hand. The state needs to have the courage, and excuse my language, they're going to have to need the balls to actually get up and take full responsibility and ability to make the curriculum programs better.
Now,
That's right. Or not send our kids to those schools.
Correct.
And create our own schools, because that's where we should be heading anyway, because we already know that, guess what? Look at our kids. They don't even want to go to school.
They don't.
They don't. Listen, a lot of these kids only going to school to get a lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Facts. They are not
a
going
lot of
to
them don't
learn.
want to go to school because of the violence.
That too, but then-
but this is what I'm trying to tell you, because we haven't instilled any principles and morals and values. There's no school on relationship building. There's no classes on relationship building in school anymore. Never. You know, they teach you how to read, write, do math, but they don't teach you about relationships and how to build constructive relationships, you know, other than these destructive relationships. But now, if people want to take a stand, guess what? Now all they can do is address their issues to the state. And if the state don't want to listen, then guess what? We need to take our kids out of these schools, period, and create our own, just like we've been needing to do.
Okay. Now we talked about how the state will be taking over as far as making a curriculum. But here's the problem with that. They're still being funded by the federal government.
No, not anymore.
Not no more.
Listen to what I'm saying now. He said that he's gonna that even the colleges are still gonna be funded by the federal government, even though the Department of Education is not over. Once they get rid of the Department of Education, that means colleges and everything, colleges on down, won't have to worry about Department of Education. Okay. But they will still receive federal funding. But he's also said that if you will still have to abide by certain rules to get those federal fundings. So if you have certain curriculum that they don't agree with, you won't get that federal funding.
And I still would say that that's a good thing, because we can't keep allowing our government to control the way that we educate our kids.
You're correct.
Just
but
like
most
you were
of the
saying,
funding,
the critical race theory, that was great that they was trying to implement that in the schools, but they don't want the truth to be told. Okay,
they don't.
This is the problem with this whole.
You're right.
They're trying to hide it.
Exactly. They don't want the truth to be told, and especially not to their kids.
Correct.
You see what I'm saying? Because they want to empower their kids. That's not empowering, right?
Exactly.
But this is what they have done to us, our kids. They have took the power and unempowered our kids. Now they're not empowered. Now our kids feel like they're not even wanted in this society. I talk to the youth all the time. You know, they feel like this whole system done gave up on them, because guess what? Nobody's listening to them. You understand? Nobody's listening to our kids. They always listening to what they're telling us to do, telling what, you know, and trying to implement these things for, you know, the betterment of their kids. So not for our kids. And our kids are suffering. The suicide rate is out the roof. Nobody's talking about that. Nobody's talking about how many of our kids is killing themselves, committing suicide out here.
Yeah.
You know, they think it's a joke, but everybody's just going along with their whole life. But, you know, our kids is in a state of depression right now.
More than
and you wondering
previous
why they out here
generations,
killing
other
and
generations,
shooting each other and mad at the world. They mad at the world.
So, you know, with kids, you know, who are being bullied, cyberbullied, being, you know, committing suicide, you know, a lot of school districts, they want to say they think about those stuff and they're concerned and they want to work and improve it. But the question is, to answer you, are you actually listening? And it reminds me, when I was a kid, I used to hear a lot of adults say, "Oh, don't listen to him. He don't know nothing." So that, to me, that's a problem. If you shuffling a child away because you think they don't know anything, actually they do, because kids, I grew up in this. Kids are like a sponge.
Absolutely.
They hear and see everything that goes on around them, and I guarantee you, if you ask them a question, you're gonna get the truth, and you're gonna see the facts.
They always say, you want somebody to tell you the truth? 2 people gonna tell you the truth. Well, 3 people: a drunk, somebody that's mad, or a child.
Yeah,
that's
they gonna
exactly
always
right.
tell the truth.
That's facts.
Exactly right.
So,
and I believe, in my opinion, a lot of school boards, they need to start listening to these kids. Listen to them, because this is their education that they're getting. It's not us. It's not them. It's the kids. You know, and now that the states are getting the authority, since the government don't want to do the Department of Education anymore, the state needs to stand up, take ownership. Don't listen to the federal government anymore because it's in the state control now. You do what's best for these kids, for our children.
Absolutely.
Don't just sit there and do nothing.
And that's the reason why I vote how I vote. I do what's best for me and my kids.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
So now we're gonna be, more, on a state level instead of a government federal level. When
So-
we come to voting and putting people in offices and doing what we doing around here and trying to make it better for our youth, man.
With our states getting more ownership, what are you guys' thoughts when it comes to authority of the federal level? Will the federal level still have the ability to overpower decisions that the states make? What are your thoughts on that?
No, not at all. Once they step back, they're out of the picture. They're out of the picture. It's strictly it's the state against against the school system. And the federal, you got to understand too, the funding that the state was getting from the federal government, it's not like it was a whole lot.
Yes,
I think it was only in Georgia. It was only like 14% of what the state gets from the federal government in funding their Department of Education. It's only like 14%. This is what people don't understand. They think that the federal government was all just pushing a whole bunch of money into our educational system. No, but they just wanted to be able to, like you say, get church out of state, out of schools, and make it more, I guess, feasible and peaceable for them, and that's what they've done. And it's been a lot of our kids and youth been hurt by it.
So these points that we are discussing are very great points, and we want to keep it to where we're relating to it toward segregation. And my next question is, which we all are aware, we've heard this throughout time and throughout history, what they call the red line. When the real estate, I think it's called redlining something, to where realtors know exactly where the black community stays, and they keep them in that area and only in that area. Well, we know that, black homeowners are actually a low percentage because there's a high percentage of blacks renting an apartment or renting a house. And we know how school districts, they rely on the sales tax and the home property tax to be able to provide money for the curriculum programs. What are you guys' thoughts on that, of how it deals with segregation and the school programs?
Go ahead, Eric. You want to?
Yeah, I was gonna because I knew I had saw it. You were talking about the funds.
Yes.
I'm gonna get back to your question.
Okay.
But I
You want extra time?
To the funds.
Okay.
That the federal government.
The federal government gave
for
Georgia in fiscal year 2024
Okay.
over $1 billion.
Okay.
In
But
federal,
that's 14, how much percent of the whole state though? That's only that's 14% of what the state
16%. That's 16%, but that 16%, hold up, that 16% contributed to over 610 million went to more than 1 million students from low-income families. 423 million went to 230,000 students with disabilities.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, far as the percentage-wise of the whole, the total that the state gets for funding schools, that's still a small portion. It's not like they can't function without it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but a lot of
You
stuff.
understand what I'm
I
saying?
get what you're saying, but
they
a lot
can
of
still
stuff,
function without that 16, 14, 15, 16% that the federal government has given them, and then especially with, with the guidelines that they set forth for them to follow. And then if you got people, the state being involved, now they can get contributions and donations from anybody, because now to push their agenda, just like anything now. You can get donations and grants or whatever you want to. Well, I could say grants and all kind of other fundings that you can get, to fill that void, right?
we'll just have to see where it goes.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
I mean, even with that, the rest of the money coming from the state, then that was just what 40-something% that came from local taxes. 40-some% came from local
And these
taxes.
taxes then went up, so they got
And now
more
they-
money.
And so they gonna
They gonna have more money coming
True.
into the state because
Yeah.
these taxes just shot out the door.
and
That's
they're
true.
gonna go
Property
back. They're
taxes.
gonna go up. The property taxes gonna go
Absolutely.
up.
So that's a whole nother
So-
$8 billion they about to collect on that.
Because you got to remember the cost of living has also increased.
Man,
so
everything.
But
companies,
see, that's what I don't like. The cost of living increases, but that cost of that paycheck don't increase with that cost of living.
that's a
though.
new topic for another episode.
That's facts.
That is a great
Yeah,
fact.
That's facts. They
But-
right about that.
Go back to your question again. That you
So my question is, do you guys think with what we're talking about segregation, you have the red line in real estate, how you have black communities where it's not many black homeowners, but there are a lot of black renters, and you know how school districts rely on sales tax and property tax to gather their yearly revenue to manage their curriculum program. So how would you think that would also affect the black community with segregation?
Well, it's just this has always been an issue with homeowners and renters, right? Homeowners always want to push their property value up, right? Renters really don't care because they don't own the property. They're just renting. So, you always have that issue where the renter, they say is, hey, they pulling the property value down. They got all this outside their home. They making it look, it's an eyesore. That's always been the case. But the property taxes is still got to get paid, regardless if it's the homeowner or if it's the renter. The owner of that property still are paying those property taxes. So the money is coming in. The only thing is the divisiveness between how the homeowner feel their neighborhood should be kept and the renter, how the renter feel that their neighborhood should be kept.
I'm gonna come to you in a second, but do you think there's a difference from a black community versus a white community in other communities when it comes to schools getting money from property tax? Go ahead.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I think so. Yeah.
No doubt. I mean, take a look. You look at here in Douglasville. You go across the railroad tracks. Look at the middle school over there.
Mm-hmm.
That don't look as good as Chapel Hill Middle School, do it?
And that comes from the local neighborhood. That comes from the local residents.
Mm-hmm.
They have to petition that. They have to go to city council and they have to fight for them to come in and do the same and treat them the same as they treat these other suburban areas or these, areas where you say, white people may, live. And that goes with any place, anywhere. If they're not putting pressure on them and saying, hey, our roads need, done. Hey, our schools need updated. Hey, that comes with the residents in that ward or in that, in that district.
And I'm glad you had mentioned Douglas County because it kind of makes me question and curious, is there some type of favoritism when school district and the county commissioners divide the money of who gets what amount, who gets, this type of change or what, to where you guys are talking about the schools, how one school is dirty and one school isn't. What do you guys think about that? Do you think it's like a favoritism or anything?
No, I don't think that. I think it just has to do with who's gonna get that money. That's just that's just how it goes. I mean, who's gonna get the money? Because if you have these students over in Chapel Hill Middle School, they producing all these scholars, and then you have another elementary school, another middle school, Chestnut Log. I'm just using that as an example. I don't know what they look like, what their academics look like, but if their academics is not up to par with Chapel Hill Middle School, then who are you gonna get the money to? The ones who you feel like is benefiting the most.
Yeah, King D.
I mean, he has a good point. Absolutely. I mean, that shouldn't be the way it happens. But sadly to say,
that's just how it is.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's how it is.
Listen, that's just like
what I'm saying.
The airport. People always talk about how the airport is always doing renovations. They always working on something. Well, they got a lot of money that they get every year, and if they don't spend that money,
yeah, Because speaking about that, you have government grants, and the airport gets a lot of government grants. And when you get a government grant, you have to spend that money. It just cannot be sitting in the account.
About it. So think about these other high schools like Douglas County High School. They got that whole new football field, whole new football. They got a whole little, basically like a whole little state of the art complex. Yeah. So. But they showing out in football though, right? Their program is putting people in the stands. Mm-hmm. They have a good program there. Now you go to New Manchester.
Okay.
New Manchester, they don't have any. They still have the same field that they had when they started. It's a nice field but they don't have the complex that Douglas High School has. They don't have that type of complex. Mm-hmm. So it's all about who's filling up the seats, who's doing what. Those are the ones that's going to get the money.
Okay.
So is it fair? No, it's not fair because I guarantee you, if you gave this school over here the same amount of resources that you give this school over here, they'll be in the same spot. But that's how come you got to look at in the white neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. You put that same amount of money in the black neighborhood,
okay,
you'll probably get the same results. And I say probably because it depends on who comes in that black neighborhood.
But at the same token, too, though, King Eric, is that you got to understand the money and the funding is there, but they just delegate those funds somewhere else.
That's what I'm saying.
If that district and those people that's in that neighborhood and going to that school, if they're not pushing the envelope on that councilman or whatever ward councilman or whoever in that area, then they're not going to delegate those funds to do anything.
Yeah.
Because nobody's saying anything, but you best believe those white folks out there.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they at the council meetings.
They are.
They're sitting in on those meetings, and they're commenting, and they're like, "Hey, we need this for our kids. We need this stuff."
And they
done.
know and I bet you they got their councilman phone number right now.
In their pocket.
They do.
In their pocket. Trust believe that.
But your councilman here in Douglasville.
And that's my point. My point exactly.
My wife and I, we used to live in Sandy Springs, and I even have, still to this day in my phone, some of the city council members' number I can call directly.
So do you have them here in Douglasville, though?
No.
Exactly.
So I do want to say one thing to the audience. Listen to this SWAT conversation. This is why I pressure people to interact with your elected officials. I don't care if you got to research them to find their contact number, find their email, because the only way for us to make a difference for our children and our community, we have to get on our elected officials behind. We have to. They cannot read our minds. They don't know what we're going through. They don't know what we're fighting. They're looking at reports. They're looking at their big-time contributors. If you want to make a difference in your community, in your school, or whatever, you got to get in touch with your elected officials.
And you got to come together. Y'all need, district meetings. Whatever. How do
school
we go down
board?
here?
Go to your school board meetings. Go to your city hall meetings.
As far as the city itself, the people, the residents, have to gather and get together and form an agenda, so that y'all can go and present it to the council, and so that if you don't do what we need done, this is our agenda, then guess what, we're going to put somebody in there that's going to fill our agenda, and that's just bottom line. But if we don't push them, they're going to do what they want to do.
Yeah. What are you going to say, King Eric?
Well, all I was going to say is a lot of times we've had here in Douglasville, we had meetings where the people come out and they talk about this because they got a new data center getting ready to be built, but they were opposed to that, but they went ahead and did it anyway. But go ahead. That's all I wanted to say.
And now you mentioned about a data center. You got to also remember they have just opened a movie production studio. I think the southern part of Douglas County. I think. So those type of businesses bring in revenue, and the county love that kind of stuff. So you bring in a data center, that's more money into the county.
Yeah, I'm not saying that it's not. But hey.
But the point is, where is that money going? Is it going towards the places that actually needs it?
Right.
And trying to relate this towards segregation. This is how Brother D was saying. It's about there's segregation within ourselves, you know, stuff like that. Oh, red light. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate it. You know, we got to end the show for today. We enjoyed the time together, and we will sure enough come back again. Thank you for watching Talk Show King on TV 1061.
All right, peace.
Peace.
You are tuned in to Talk Show Kings on TV 1061.
Man, what they gonna do with this black on black crime, man? I'm sick of this. Thank you for watching another edition of Talk Show Kings on TV 1061. We'll be seeing you soon.